Hello everyone and welcome back. We are here for another yoga for chronic pain session. Today we will be focusing more on what they call painsomnia. Insomnia, can't sleep because you are in too much pain. We'll do a little bit of a back focus again, but also just like general, what I think of as kind of a cranky body. You can't get into a comfortable position, so you can't fall asleep, so you're moving around, nothing's quite right. So we will do some restorative yoga today. This is a little bit inspired by Judith Hanson Lassiter. She's the classical restorative queen. We love her in the yoga world. I will link some information about her. So because we'll do a bit of a restorative practice, we have some stuff. Let's keep it user-friendly. No need to rush out and buy a whole bunch of stuff. Whatever you have around the house is probably fine. I don't know what's at your house, but maybe some of these things. Now I find lots of my clients have foam rollers, and we can use them not for foam rolling because usually they just sit around and collect dust. I don't know about you, these are the people I deal with. Their foam rollers are somewhere in the basement, not rolling. But the foaming part is still pretty good. So when we do restorative yoga, we want to get some kind of propping underneath our joints. So if seated was a restorative yoga pose we were doing, it might be more comfortable to get some propping underneath the knees to pull them back from their fullest range of motion. So foam rollers are great because they won't sink in when we put our limbs over top of them. They have more height than a lot of other stuff we could get around the house. If it's too firm, you can put a blanket or a cushion over top of it. And for me, it's nice to be able to use something from around the house that otherwise isn't getting any use. That's at least my thinking. If you don't have one or you're using yours for foam rolling, don't worry about it. We can use other things. Yoga blocks. These are all over the place, very common. They're not the be-all, end-all. And if you kind of look at it and think, okay, what else do I have around my house that's sort of this size and shape? Somebody told me they use their lunch containers or like takeout food containers because some of them, to store your leftovers in the fridge are roughly the size of a yoga block. Again, you can put a blanket or a cushion over top of it to soften it. Same kind of idea. If you have yoga blocks, I have, for whatever reason, the egg-shaped ones. You can use the more squared ones. It'd be nice if they come out with more circular ones. Round ones would be nice too. Maybe you have some round lunch containers around your house. You can just throw a cushion over top of it to soften it. I don't know. When it comes to if you are feeling chilly, my floors are very cold. Maybe these magic bags or a similar brand that you can get full of buckwheat or rice, pop it in the microwave, and then you can put it under your body for some of our poses or on top of your body for some of our poses. So for something where you're lying on your back, it can actually be quite nice across the collarbones or down the center of the chest, very soothing. Anybody who has a cat, maybe you like that feeling of when your cat comes and lies on top of you. Same kind of idea. Anything that's feeling really tight and tense, we know that feeling of heat being really soothing. Now, in the warmer months, we might want to put this in the fridge or freezer because cool can also be soothing. Maybe you're doing this in a third floor bedroom or whatever, no air conditioning, taking one of these out of the fridge and putting it wherever you think would be the most cooling can also provide that kind of feeling that we are looking for. Okay, other things that we can use. So these are just some, what are they called? They're like mat towels that you put over top of your yoga mat in case you're sweating or slipping on the mat. I don't really get a chance to use them for that these days, so I just folded them over and now they're only used for my restorative yoga practice. Do you have a throw blanket around, throw cushions, anything, I don't know, a sleeping bag, a sweater that you never wear rolled up, whatever. You can fill a pillowcase with, again, maybe it's like your clothing, your really thick sweatpants that you only wear in the winter. Now we're moving into summer. Stuff them in a pillowcase. Great. Now you have this like fluffy thing to support you. Another one of my favorites, this is probably my all-time favorite prop, is just a rolled up yoga mat. For me, it's a good amount of firmness. I hate it when I use a prop and I think, oh, perfect, that'll be great. And I put it under me and then my body weight completely compresses it. And then it's not providing any kind of support. So the yoga mat for me, I like how firm it is. You may find it too firm, in which case we could, again, put something softer, a cushion or whatever, over top of it. That'll bring the height up, but also make it softer. So it does take a little getting used to, a little fussing with to get the props high enough, soft enough, firm enough, hot enough, cold enough. So please consider this an experience, and every day is different. I used to get my husband to, oh, will you come take a picture of me? This is the perfect, most comfortable pose I've ever found. I would have, myself, I'd be in this perfect position, all the props set just right. He'd take a photo, and then I would go back to recreate that photo, and then be lying in that same position thinking, oh, this isn't really doing it for me today. So there's something about seeing things with fresh eyes, a sense of renewal. Anytime we have chronic pain or even a semi-chronic condition, something that lasts for a couple of months, it's like we put glasses on where every day we're expecting the same old, but it might actually be a little bit different, which is where we can vary our approach to get the relief that we need instead of going, oh, predictable situation, I'm going to throw the same old solution at it. I wonder why it isn't working. It's difficult to be open enough to be curious when we're in pain and we're kind of guarded and blocking things and we don't want to lean in. We want to push it out of our awareness. So our yoga practice hopefully is kind of a safe landing spot for us where we can go, okay, just going to set aside this time to tune into what's going on in the present moment, in reality, let that into my perception. And then use all the various different tools. Can we see it as being a fun way to customize it instead of being burdensome? I hope. I do have some other considerations for us today aside from propping. So not just restorative movements, we'll also do circular and kind of swaying movements of the body. They say this is inherently soothing to the nervous system. Whatever language you like to use, the same way we would maybe rock a baby, or sometimes when people are nervous, right, there's this kind of self-soothing rocking that we do. It's the same thing in our joints and our tissues. So this is one area where yoga gets a lot of criticism of being just static holds. I'm just doing one stretch for my shoulder, I'm holding it for 1 minute, and then I'm moving on to the next thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but if that's the only way we're practicing, then we're missing what we could otherwise be doing. So instead, moving into a stretch and out of a stretch, or the joint that we're working in the stretch, circling it, or getting some kind of swaying movement going has a lot of benefits as well. As with so many things, we do both. Take what you like, leave what you don't. If you get a lot of benefit out of static stretches, go for it. Keep doing it. If you get a lot of benefit out of moving, swaying, rocking, sometimes fidgeting gets a bad rap, like, hey, sit still. Okay, listen. We're not at school and you're not in trouble. If you need to move or fidget at any point, that is an incredibly important way to listen to what's going on in the body. We spend so much time pushing down our natural impulses. We have to go to the bathroom, but someone's in the middle of telling you something really important, so you just hold it. You're thirsty, but you're out at the shopping mall and you don't know where your water bottle can be refilled. We spend all day just shutting down our bodily signals. If fidgeting is one way that we can get back in tune with what's going on, go for it. That might even include saying to yourself, this yoga practice really isn't working for me today. Getting up, stopping the video, and doing whatever else meets your needs. We're going for, one of my favorite yoga teachers would always use the word beneficial. Is this beneficial? Can we do this in a way that's beneficial? So let this be beneficial. I'm sure you have enough mental load already managing whatever's going on in your life. Don't let this be one more piece of mental load. Okay, I've said my piece. What else can we do? You may be practicing at night, in which case the light from the screen might be keeping you up. I am in love with these gamer glasses, they're called. The idea being like if you're up really late gaming on your computer or whatever kind of video game systems people have these days, that it blocks the lights. I love them. I can fall asleep an hour faster if I put these on a couple hours before bedtime. It gives this like beautiful sort of old-fashioned Victorian glow to the house. I love it. Maybe you'll like it. If I'm gonna be in front of a screen, super helpful. It's a little disorienting because it is orange if you are doing anything that is color-coded. So on my phone, there's an app that I use where there's a lot of blue and green, and it's very disorienting. I can't tell. So I have to do something else instead. If you are doing something like checking email where there's a lot of white on the screen, the red glasses are fantastic. I should have thought about color coding my outfit. I think with the red glasses, there's not enough difference, the color of my outfit to the color of the, should have gotten a white mat. Anyways, just something to think about if you will be watching this at night. You can monkey around with the colors on your screen. You can dim the lights. I won't be doing anything too amazing or unusual with my body. I will try to lead us with my words. So please feel free to make it as dim as possible. Try out these glasses. They're lots of fun to play with. And then hopefully you can just ease into sleep when you are done this video. Our essential oils for the month. I rarely ever talk about topical use of essential oils because sometimes things go wrong. So it is possible to have skin irritation, allergic reaction, all sorts of other things. Okay, please take care of yourself. If you have an allergy to florals or peppermint or I don't know what, use your brain, don't put it on your body. Always dilute with a carrier oil. More is not more. Okay. Sort of like if you've ever been told to put cool water on a burn instead of ice. Well, what's going to happen if we put cool water? Gentle transition for the body. What happens if we put ice? Well, now you've got two things, a heat burn and an ice burn, right? Sort of the same idea with our essential oils. We have some pain, and we might want to just put the whole bottle on our pain. Well, now we have two issues, the initial pain, and now whatever we've done with the essential oil to irritate our skin. So we use a carrier oil. Sometimes for like a 10 millimeter bottle, we'll be putting just a couple drops of something like peppermint I have here because it's so punchy in terms of smell. You can even feel it in your eyes sometimes. You put it on your skin and you get this burning feeling. So we don't want that. Let's start with as little as possible. But the reason I share this is because I once purchased the most amazing joint spray. And it was very diluted, peppermint, frankincense, and black pepper, all anti-inflammatory, diluted so that you could spray it on and cover the area, but enough in there so you could kind of feel a little bit of activity going on, felt soothing. In the same way that if we put the Magic Bag or whatever other brand in the fridge, you can feel that cool and soothing, but not as harsh as if we just put a straight ice pack on your bare skin. Okay, I say all this because I once spoke with a nurse who told me she has seen really bad burns from essential oils, especially on children. And when you want to be careful if you have pets in the house because they are smaller, so a little can go a really long way and irritate them. They should be able to get away from you if you are using essential oils. Okay, sorry. I know it's a lot to say, but it just, when in doubt, don't use it. My mom has this tiny little dog and I'm so neurotic, I don't use essential oils if he's going to be in the house or if I'm going to be in his house. Better safe than sorry. Okay, The other thing we can do with essential oils, so we've got thinking about anti-inflammatory, relieving our physical pain, but there's also, and I always grab, like if you have a starter kit for essential oils, it's probably going to be lemon, peppermint, and lavender. So we got peppermint, our anti-inflammatory, cool, tingly, feels nice. If we're in pain, and we sort of the same way that, you know, if your neighbor is playing loud music and you turn your own music up, it kind of tunes it out. That's kind of what we're going for with peppermint or with warmth as well. We're tuning out the other sensations of the body, in this case being pain. Okay. Or we can go for more of an emotionally soothing essential oil with lavender, our classic, or any other scent that you like that feels like, that might be if you, I don't know, I love the smell of toast. Maybe you just make toast and you're going to eat toast after or before you do this program because you love the smell of toast. Carbohydrates are a wonderful thing, right? Could be any other kind of essential oil. Some people love the smell of coffee, whatever it might be that feels soothing and relaxing to you. Lavender, any other floral usually does the same sort of thing. I like stuff like rosemary or any of the pine needly kind of smells. Okay, but we'll keep it simple. You probably have, if you have any essential oils around the house, peppermint and lavender are the top two. My gosh. Okay, we're getting there. Our tea, and then we're done, and then we'll do our practice. Okay, lemon balm. I've been studying traditional Chinese medicine, and apparently lemon balm is recommended for anybody who carries a lot of worry. It's good for people who are tender-hearted or sensitive in the heart. So it can be soothing and kind of a feeling of relief and comfort. Lemon balm is also good for sleep. I have swapped out chamomile. I think actually I'm one of those people that chamomile is a little bit alerting. I started drinking it years ago in the afternoon and I thought, oh, it must be so like relaxing for me. It's stress relieving because I feel energized. So I'm just drinking it before I go to bed at night and then being like kind of wired. So I've swapped it out for lemon balm. I love it. You can add a little bit of sweetener in it. I like putting collagen powder and milk in it to make it feel like a little bit more of a hug from the inside. I'm a fan. Lemon balm, good for a tender heart. And now we're ready to go. You made it. We'll start seated in a chair, and then we'll make our way down to the mat. Okay, we're finally ready to begin. Let's go. So feel free to sit on the floor if you're more comfortable on the floor. If, like me, you have little legs, you might like blocks underneath your feet. And we do not have to be symmetrical, so it can be nice to take the feet one on, one off, whatever feels good for the hips and the back and our ability to sit up tall. Ideally, we are not leaning back in the chair for safety and functional movement. If you need the support of the chair, that's fine. Or we can use a block in behind the low back so that we're upright instead of, I mean, we love comfortable chairs, we love leaning back, but for our movements, we are looking for alignment of the spine. So, you know, our spine stays fairly straight instead of, you know, we're not watching a movie curled up on a rainy day. We are action ready, even though our action is very gentle. Let's begin. Sometimes we're not comfortable and people will say, oh, just take a breath, just meditate. And you're like, great, now I'm sitting still, consumed by my discomfort. So we'll start with movement, we'll start with something different. Let's do the fist exercise. Sitting as we are, let's try to take a full, deep, comfortable breath. Maybe feeling a little restricted if we're sort of locked down, uncomfortable, or just muscle tension, we haven't warmed up yet. And then let's make a tight fist. See how easy it is to take a deep breath. Really squeeze those hands. And then let's try it again with the hands released. Full, deep, comfortable breath. Do we see how tension in our hands can translate to the rest of the body and our ability to breathe easy? So we're aiming to relieve physical tension in the body so that we can breathe more deeply, or the other way around. Breathing more deeply may help us to relieve physical tension in the body. We can take hands to belly. This is where belly breathing is really the number one go-to that people recommend. It's not the only style of breathing, but it's great for the type of practice we're doing here today, where we're looking for that sigh of relief. Let's take our hands to the belly. Relaxing the muscles as much as we can while still being able to sit up tall, supported from the inside, so we could engage our deep core or pelvic floor muscles to draw up and in, but then relax the superficial muscles of the belly, so that ripply eggshell that sits close to the surface, our six-pack abs that we all have. Relaxing those muscles so that we can really expand. We could also have the hands on sort of ribs and belly, or just ribs, anywhere that helps us. Wherever you feel tense, we can place the hands there to connect mind and body, to breathe easy. Always the option to close our eyes. So we'll keep encouraging this deep belly breathing as we move through. And if we forget or our body kind of tightens up, let's see that as positive intent. The body is trying to help us by being tense, and we can say, hey, you know what? I got this. Breathe easy. And let's actually start with sighing. We can do a little bit of tapping here. Tapping into the collarbones is usually a nice landing place for people. So keeping that relaxed belly breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Some people feel good with a really gentle exhale or pursed lip exhale. And then some people like a much more dramatic vocalized sigh, whatever feels good for you. So if you want to really like, go for it. When I teach kids, they love that. It feels like so, there's like a humorous kind of relaxation. So gently tapping on our collarbones, we sigh a few times. And then when we're ready, let's get into a brief round of tapping, just to be open to the experience. So we're tapping on a karate chop point, or we can tap both karate chop points together, extra strength tapping. And we can say to ourselves out loud or in our minds, even though I'm experiencing this pain, I'm open to releasing it. I'm acknowledging that I'm going through some pain. And I'm open to believing that I can feel comfort. It may be tough to believe, but okay, I'll try it. In a comfortable range of motion, skip any points that you don't like. Top of the head. I'm accepting the fact that there is some discomfort in my life. I've tried to push it away, deny it, minimize it. And yet it's still there. And I want so badly for it to be gone. I don't have time or energy to handle this. I would really just like for things to feel okay. So here's an opportunity for my body to feel all right. Go under the arm. I'm breathing easy. And then my favorite, the liver point to release our anger. Let's see where this experience takes me. And we'll begin with a Kriya for today. So in yoga and Ayurveda, Kriyas are designed to move and shift prana, or life energy, life force. You know, when sort of the vibes are off, that's kind of what we're going for here. You enter the room and there's like a weird vibe and somebody tells a joke and the tension is released. That's essentially what a Kriya is aiming to do. So let's shift the vibe here. We'll take hands to heart. And we can do Garuda Mudra, thumbs together. And I always try just not to touch the microphone. Sorry if I knock it and there's any noise, or if I kind of adjust the movement and look weird, so I'm not touching it. Place the hands wherever it's comfortable. So we have our hands at heart center, and we kind of do a little past, present, and future meditation. So we're sweeping one arm back, acknowledging past, and bringing ourselves into the present. Sweeping the other arm back, into the past. We know what's happened. Let's start fresh here right now. And our Kriyas can be practiced for several minutes. But of course, we want to move in a comfortable range of motion so that we're not aggravating any discomfort. So if this range of motion is not comfortable for you, could we be doing a little shoulder roll, or maybe just a gentle sweep of the arm? We could even, if nothing else works, just be kind of moving the eyes, down and back to center, down and back to center. So take what you like, leave what you don't. This is non-prescriptive. We're just kind of moving through, aiming to shift our energy. So someone once did this kind of movement in a class and said, we are acknowledging our ancestors, bringing them into our hearts. We're also looking towards the future and the positive benefit that this may have as we take care of ourselves. And then that energy can ripple out into our communities, our loved ones. So we have this flexible balance between past, present, and future. Not getting too caught up in telling ourselves a story, what has been or what could be. Flexible moving between what is, what has been, and what will be. Choosing to see it with the right sort of pair of glasses, seeing it as it is, but not worse than it is, in a way that our perception helps us to deal with reality. There's this book, Useful Delusions. Maybe sometimes we need a little bit of delusion to help us get through these things. Okay, I'm having a crummy day, but I'm using this time to be of service to others. We could also use this time as we think about the past, thinking about people who have helped us that we are grateful for. And in the near future, people that we can be of service to give us a sense of meaning. Checking in with our belly breathing, sighing as necessary. Give a few more if we like, and then as we feel ready to do so, we can come back to our Garuda or Eagle hands. Check back in with how we're doing. then welcome in any fidgets that the body would like to do. Sometimes after doing arm movements, we feel the need to move the head, kind of loosen things up. We might be experiencing some popping or cracking. And let's release this movement in a more typical way. We'll do our circle sweeps as we always do. So we can do a big reach up or maybe a small range of motion. Inhaling up, exhaling down, giving ourselves a sense of uplift with the inhale, remembering we can keep this movement small. And sometimes we need this to sort of start fresh, imagining that we are shaking the Etch-a-Sketch, turning to a fresh page, recalibrating, resetting here. All right, so we've warmed up range of motion in upper body. Shoulders, let's circle wrists. This one is great if we have cranky fingers, arthritis. I think especially as we're doing more repetitive movements with our hands these days on a screen or whatever else, and like using a tablet isn't very ergonomic. So our hands can use a little extra TLC to stay comfortable. We can wiggle our fingers, expand and contract the hands. The same way, a cat would wake up and do this nice big stretch and then bring it back in. That's what we're doing with our hands. And we can do that at any point with any parts of our body. All right, so let's release, shake out, and then like a cat, expand and stretch, whatever feels good for you here. We've been sitting for a little while now. We're gonna move through circling our joints, and then we'll take it right down to the floor. Okay, let's go from the bottom up. We can circle our wrists, our ankles, wiggle our toes, point and flex. If it's comfortable, we could do this taking our legs into sort of a pigeon or figure four position. This one is really an acquired taste. People either love it and do it naturally, or it's just not gonna go, so we don't have to. Any way that it's comfortable to do this. And then let's take it to the other side. Point and flex, circle, both directions, wiggle the toes, however we like to do it. What else do we have? What other body parts? We've got our hips. So let's sway side to side. We can start small. Not a typical kind of movement that we do in our yoga classes. Really, it's not like a traditional yoga pose. And then let's just let the body ripple and sway with it. This kind of side-to-side movement can actually be great. Our balance has to kind of recalibrate as we go, or else you would topple out of your chair. It's good for the tiny little muscles that are closest to the spine, our multifidi or multifidus. So if you love this one, throw it in anytime you like. We might like to do like a bigger, more dramatic movement, getting the rest of the spine going. Maybe the head wants to go with it. Or it might just be a more controlled movement, side to side. Generally, people who are very flexible seem to do better with these tiny range of motion controlled movements, and people who are stiffer seem to do better with a larger range of motion movement. I will leave that up to you to determine which one feels better for you. All right. We are ready to either come to standing or stay seated. We'll do leg circles for our hips. I find this one very uncomfortable seated, so feel free to join me or stay in your chair. We can use our chair for balance support, and we just take one knee up and around in a circle. Making sure, of course, that we go both ways. And it could be, again, kind of a weird wonky movement. Sometimes you do something that like doesn't look like a good yoga pose and you think, oh, that's the perfect spot. And today is no different. We could also extend and straighten, moving through range of motion in the knees.
Follow me.
And then let's go ahead and switch sides. So feel free, if we're using a chair for support, to switch hands, staying balanced. And actually, honestly, we might not think of balancing on one foot as being good for pain, but a lot of pain has to do with getting into these holding patterns in the body, movement patterns, like holding the breath or scrunching shoulders to ears. And standing on one foot can help to rewrite those, because the muscles in the inside of the feet that help create our foundation, right? You wouldn't build a building on cracked foundation. You would have good foundation before building up. That's exactly what our feet are to the human body. Our balance makes us very aware of our mind-body connection and also helps engage our deep core muscles. The one thing we usually forget to do with our balance poses, though, is to breathe. So let's stay reasonably soft through the belly. Balance. Okay. We've warmed up, we've moved through all our joints. Do any other movement that feels necessary at this moment in time. We're ready to do our restorative poses. So we will have an option to do a variation of legs up the wall. Feel free to use the chair for different options as a support. I'm going to move mine far out of the way. You may like to do the same. I don't know how much space you have in your home, so I'm just going to get it like as far away as possible while still having it accessible. And then as we're ready to do so, we can get down to the mat and we'll make our way into child's pose. We might like the chair for child's pose. And we could also do a variation of supported downward dog. So the hands on the seat of the chair, bending the knees as much as we like. If you are tall, this one might be quite far down. So our downward dog on the chair is a nice option to lengthen out the muscles in the back of the body, work on our overhead range of motion, or we can be down towards a child's pose, aiming towards the same sort of range of motion, hands on the chair. Our elbows could be bent, arms may be straight. So our idea with our restorative poses is that the props support us, so we don't have to work too hard so we can feel a sense of release. I will do my best to slowly go through our options and then stay in the one that works for you. Now, if we feel really high up and we need more support, that may mean putting some yoga blocks, one or two, in behind, sort of between upper and lower leg. So we're sitting on them. Or we may like to go much lower, bringing it all the way down to the mat.
Follow me.
With our arms bent or straight. And we may like some yoga blocks or cushions, or our foam roller piled underneath us. So we'll use our child's pose today to transition from being up and moving to coming down, being still, and releasing. So we have lots of options, high and low, more support, less support. Coming into any position where we feel we can kind of unwind. And let's bring our awareness back inside our bodies. So if we're in child's pose with the arms extended forward, sort of bringing our biceps up towards our ears, then we may, on our inhale, be aware of a stretch in the underarm, our lat muscles. There may also be a stretch in the back. So as we inhale, feeling a stretch between each rib bone and our intercostal muscles. There may be a release in the low back or the glutes or really anywhere else. Anywhere that feels good, let's direct our attention there, imagining that we can send the breath to those parts of the body. Remembering that we can stay here longer or leave the pose early as necessary. So we are aiming for maximum benefit, minimum discomfort. Now feel free to stay wherever you are. If you get into a position at any point today where you feel like you could just about fall asleep, feel free to ignore me, turn me off, and stay in that position. If we're ready to move on, we'll come into a forward fold. So often the recommendation for back pain is to start in a neutral spine, like we just did, and then move into a forward fold, like our cat stretch, stretching out the muscles of the back. So let's go through some different variations for forward fold. Rarely, but sometimes, one of my students loves a cross-legged forward fold like this. So we can fold forward with the legs crossed, with the legs straight, probably the most common favorite, or with the legs wide. And usually this is the one that we like with the chair. So I'll do as I just did from child's pose, going from highest to lowest. So any of those options, whatever feels good in the lower body, legs crossed, legs straight, or legs wide. If we would like lots of support, we take our legs wide around the chair. Depending on the chair, sometimes we need to put one leg under. Depends how wide your chair is, how wide your legs are, and then we can just kind of take a nap on the chair in any of those leg positions. Even with the legs straight, we could feed the legs under the chair, take a little nap on the chair. If it feels too high, like we're not really accomplishing anything, maybe this is an opportunity for a foam roller under the knees or across the thighs. And then we can be quite rounded here as we flop forward, maybe a cushion under the belly, remembering that we don't have to use things for their intended purpose. This is a cushion to sit on, but there's no reason why I can't put it under my body to catch me as I lean forward into my forward fold. Finding a way to feel comfortable and supported so that there's release really from the base of the skull down towards the tailbone, somewhere in the back. It may feel like too much stretch, either in the legs or the back, at which point we can add more propping, bring ourselves up higher. Or we might need to have a little bit more muscular engagement instead of just flopping forward, coming out of the pose a little bit, supporting ourselves. And then as we feel relaxation, releasing further. Now, what happens if we are in the pose for a couple minutes and we think, oh, I don't need so much support. I'd like to go further. At that point, that's okay. It sort of evolves the more we relax. We could remove some or all of our propping. Maybe we don't even need any propping. And then we re-enter the pose, coming back to our belly breathing, full breath in, long breath out. Allowing our breath, our props, and gravity to guide us further in to relaxation, lengthening, stretching, and releasing. to stay a few more rounds of breath, taking our time with this one. It is possible to overdo it. So if it feels like you've held the stretch for too long, then that is great information from the body to the brain, reset and neutral, staying present, coming back to belly breathing. And remembering you're not in school, there's no passing grade, you don't have to hold the stretch for the entire length of time. This is where we rely on our inner teacher to kind of guess how long we should be doing things for. You can stay longer in the pose if you would like. If you're ready to move out, you can come on with me. And then it might feel that you need to do some kind of movement between the poses, again, swaying or rocking, to let that go, to release, to feel good. And we'll make our way down to lie on our backs, keeping in mind we don't want to do further damage to ourselves by leaving our props really far away or reaching for them and grabbing for them awkwardly. So generally, if we aim to have them around the middle of the mat when we lie down, they'll be where we want them to be when we get there. All right. Rotation, back extension, and then relaxation. We're almost there. Does not take much. Okay, so for our rotation, I'll do as we've been doing, smallest range of motion first. So rotation, spinal twist, same thing. Our very gentle way to do it would be maybe hands on belly to focus on soft belly breathing. And letting our knees knock to one side. How convenient, my prop is already there to stop me from going too far. So yes, we get a better stretch sensation with no propping, but then our limbs are just kind of hanging out in space, and it's a stress on the body to be pulling the muscle taut. So what we want is not the fullest range of motion, like a rope or a bungee cord. We can stretch, and it's taut, it's tight, even though it's lengthened. If we use a prop to bring us back from our fullest range of motion, like a bungee cord, it's in that range of motion, but now there's some slack. If we want to go deeper into our rotation instead of letting the knees knock, then we can stack our knees. So if we're stacking, I move to the right side. Stacking our knees to the right side of the mat. I always like to shift the hips to the left side first, kind of shimmy the shoulders to feel relaxation here. And then we could have propping underneath the bottom knee and between the legs. So maybe I want to use a cushion underneath the bottom knee so it's not going all the way down. I've pulled it back from the furthest range of motion. And maybe I want to use a blanket between the legs because it just feels like my knees are knocking together. Wonderful. What if I feel like I want some more support under my head? Cool. So I have all my stuff close by to help me out. How convenient. And then we can have the arms just resting gently wherever it's comfortable. Arms can be out to T, cactus arms. Again, hands on belly or ribs to help with our breathing. And honestly, this is a great one when you get into bed at the end of the day. Twists are thought to be cooling if they are like this, meaning moving more in towards our yin energy. So that's our nighttime energy, more soothing, passive energy. So if we get into bed, we do a little twist one way, a little twist the other way. Kind of releases some tension from the day. It can help to fall asleep. And it sounds so simple, and sometimes it really is that simple. We feel like we can't sleep. We do a forward fold, get into bed, do a twist, and then we fall asleep. just like our forward fold. If we've been lying here for a while and we feel the body settling, releasing, going further, we can adjust hips, shoulders, change our position, remove any of the props. So it's not any sort of goal to keep pushing and going further, remembering that yoga is non-competitive. But it may feel like an invitation from the body to go further, go deeper. And we'll know if you take away the props and suddenly feel even better. All right, fantastic. That's exactly where we need to be. What's interesting as we go from one side to the next, sometimes it can be tricky for our level of patience because we're just enjoying everything going on this side, and then we get the second side and we think, oh, I'm not there yet, and we try to push to get a result quickly. So let's be patient. Remember using safe ergonomics as we come to the other side, so maybe contracting our abs to control and move our legs. And we'll start matching whatever we did on the first side. Let's do it on the second side. And then we'll see every side is different. Maybe we need that level of propping, maybe we don't. Okay, so we can windshield wipe, or we can shift the hips to the right and then stack the knees to the left to see what's going on this side here today. Adjusting the shoulders, adjusting our propping. Sometimes after we've been on the floor for a while, the body kind of flattens out and you might need less propping under the head. So sometimes people will start with an entire yoga block under the head and then remove the yoga block and go down to just a cushion or something lower. So no expectation, even though one side looked and felt one way, okay, different side can look and feel a different way. Settling in. Finding a place to put our limbs that feels like a comfortable resting point. Sometimes we start to drum our fingers. Maybe we like to hold on to something just to give the hands something to do. That's where hot stone massage combined with restorative yoga is so nice, to have a hot stone in each hand, or if you're in a warm room already, make a cold stone. So if our hands are looking for something to do, even just like hanging onto our props can be a nice place. This is what they say through the language of the nervous system. The nervous system doesn't like to be hanging out in space, kind of free falling. So just hold on to something, putting my hand on my foam roller in the back and holding on to my folded mat towel in the front, and I can feel that settling. I feel settled. Okay, now you're experts, you know. Breathing fully. As the body gives in and releases, adjusting. Can we see fidgeting as a positive instead of a negative? Taking different arm positions, palms up, palms down. we're ready to move into our final position. I'll give us a couple of options. So if by chance you do not like legs up the wall, or you don't have a chair to do it on, feel free to do it up a wall if you have a good wall. We could just come into relaxation on our backs. Again, with the option of prop under our knees with a cushion. You can tell I love my foam roller to give a bend under the knees. Any joint that's kind of locking out, we want to give it a bend. So there are like tiny little sandbags or rice bags. You can fill a sock with rice just to rest your hand on it instead of the elbows being straight on the floor. We can bend the joint and have a little elbow bend to be more soothing. We could also hold the edges of the yoga mat if we feel this kind of energy where we're fidgeting or don't know where to put our hands. We can put hands to belly, whatever we like. We can also come into supported butterfly. The knees open and blocks under the knees. That's really a fan favorite. With something under the head or not under the head, but probably the #1 fan favorite is our variation of legs up the wall. So let's use our chair. It is not super easy to get into, a little bit awkward, but maybe that is all part of the fun. So we're going to shimmy our bums as close to the chair as possible, and then flip our legs on top of the seat of the chair, staying there for as long as you like, as long as it's comfortable. Remembering that we have just released all of the muscles in the body. So we have to use a little bit of strength to get there, which is why we might not like it at the end of the class. If it's just too much effort, too awkward, we don't want to get up. Sometimes dizziness or blood pressure, whatever it may be. But if we love our legs up the wall, or in this case, legs up the chair, getting our bums close, using the strength in our core, we can use a strong exhale. Pull the abs in to get the legs up. Get comfortable, kind of shimmy ourselves around. And then we have landed. A great one before bed, because sometimes we have fluid pooling in the legs, and it will come back to our core, and then we won't wake up so many times in the night to pee. Okay. Wherever you are happy and comfortable, let's finish there. And I'll give us some tips for our final relaxation. Okay, so no rush, get comfortable, move all your props around as necessary. And again, let's come back to our soft belly breathing, especially if that's been working for you today. Probably should have said at the very beginning, soft belly breathing is not effective for everyone all the time. So breathe in a way that feels good. Exhaling with a sigh, pursed lips. Sometimes there's like a sense of anxiety, and box breathing is good, 4-7-8 breathing if you're familiar with those, or breathing a little bit more quickly. Sometimes we think we need to move and breathe super slowly in yoga, and there's no rule that says that. We can breathe a little bit faster if that feels more comfortable for you, always making sure that you feel like you can get enough air. And we have our option for our sinking breath as well. So on our inhale, feeling light, lifted, noticing all parts of the body that seem to rise with the breath in. And then on the exhale, noticing all parts of the body that are pressing down into whatever surface is beneath you, chair, props, floor, yoga mat. Inhaling light and lifted. And then with every exhale, allowing these parts that are pressing down to rest down even more fully. Noticing all parts of the back that are resting on the floor, and if any parts are kind of lifted, with the exhale, allowing them to sink in closer to the mat, more heavily, feeling supported externally, so we don't have to work to hold ourselves here. Back of the shoulders, heavy, resting down. Inhaling, feeling light. Back of the head, allowing it to settle. Letting this inspire the weight of our thoughts or emotions, feelings to also kind of settle in, feel more rested and supported. We're laying down our burdens for a moment here. One helpful visual for our belly breathing can be balloons. So in the same way we allow the belly to expand, imagining a beautiful bunch of balloons, brightly colored, often symbolizing whimsy, enjoyment, good times, celebration. Seeing the bright colors of these balloons. And in the same way that the balloons are light and inflated, allowing our breath to be light, feeling a sense of inflation. And then can we breathe in a way that feels lighter? Lighter than air, as light as helium, a helium balloon. There's a certain kind of buoyancy and optimism. And maybe we have something that's weighing us down. A thought that's weighing on your mind, an obligation, or anything else that you feel is really not in a good way. Not that we're like heavy, supported, comfortable, settling down, but something that feels like it is dragging you down. And let's tie that concern to the balloons. We know that these balloons are lighter than air. So as we tie our concerns to these balloons, let them drift away. Maybe not in reality, maybe not forever, but for this present moment, letting the weight of this thing be light, lifted, carry away. Something we don't have to deal with right now. And all that remains is a sense of feeling supported from below and a lightness from within. The number of balloons that you have is unlimited. Maybe you have a favorite color. You'd like to picture the balloons in this color. Perhaps picturing yourself outdoors on a beautiful day, whatever type of weather you like. Tying your cares to the balloons, releasing them, watching them be blown away, fly away, drift away, or simply floating in space. Allowing this visual to have an impact on body and breath. And allowing this visual to have an impact on mood and outlook. Knowing that you can come back here in your mind at any time to soft belly breathing, colored balloons, and a way to feel lighter, if only in our minds. Allowing this to let us feel lighter in our bodies and our breath. Stay in this space for as long as you like. And for today, I'll leave you here. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope it has been of benefit to you. From my light to yours, namaste.